The Holy Gospel of our Lord Jesus Christ, according to John.
Glory to you, Lord Christ.
You may be seated because we're going to do a dramatic reading of the Gospel.
Now a certain man was sick, Lazarus of Bethany, the town of Mary and her sister Martha. And it was Mary who anointed the Lord with fragrant oil and wiped his feet with her hair, whose brother Lazarus was sick. Therefore the sisters sent to him, saying,
Lord, behold, he whom you love is sick.
We remember first meeting Mary and Martha in Luke chapter 10. Jesus had just finished sharing the story of the Good Samaritan. Upon his arrival to Bethany, he was welcomed into Mary and Martha's home. The customs of the time were very involved with what things must occur when someone is invited in as a guest. And Jesus was not alone. There were at least 12 other men traveling with him at this point. So there was much to do in order to uphold these traditions. Luke tells us that Martha was distracted with serving. Anyone who has ever invited 13 people into their home can immediately relate to how much is going on and how hectic things can get. In addition to all of the logistical things that are happening, Luke also tells us that Mary sat at Jesus' feet and heard his word. It is possible that this was the time that Mary anointed his feet and wiped his feet with her hair, as was referenced in John. So Martha has many customs and traditions that she is dutifully trying to uphold, and Mary is instead sitting there instead of helping her with her work. It is no wonder Martha eventually makes her way to Jesus and asks him,
Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me to serve alone? Therefore tell her to help me.
We can all empathize with someone who is overworked, especially present day during this pandemic. Sometimes the workload can get to be so much that we don't have time to truly prioritize what is important. Martha has so much to do that she can't begin to think about anything else but the mountain of work in front of her. Jesus knows her trouble and wants to help her see beyond the chores that are threatening to completely overwhelm her. He answered Martha, saying,
Martha, Martha, you are worried and troubled about many things, but one thing is needed, and Mary has chosen that good part, which will not be taken away from her.
Jesus is empathetic with Martha's dilemma and uses this situation as a teachable moment. These two elements are what we will focus on as we return to John chapter 11, where we begin today's reading. Lazarus is sick, and Mary and Martha both agree that Jesus is the one that can help. So they send for him, saying,
Lord, behold, he whom you love is sick.
When Jesus heard that, he said,
This sickness is not unto death, but for the glory of God, that the Son of God may be glorified through it.
From the very beginning, Jesus knows that this sickness will not end in death. It is very important that we understand at the very beginning that Jesus is promising that life will triumph over death from the start. With this understanding, we can view what is to come in a very different way with regards to empathy. Now, Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus. So when he heard that he was sick, he stayed 2 more days in the place where he was. Then after this, he said to the disciples,
Let us go to Judea again. Our friend Lazarus, but I go that I may wake him up.
Then his disciples said, Lord, if he sleeps, he will get well. However, Jesus spoke of death, but they thought that he was speaking about taking rest in sleep. Then Jesus said to them plainly,
Lazarus is dead, and I am glad for your sakes that I was not there, that you may believe. Nevertheless, let us go to him.
Once again, Jesus makes sure that everyone knows that Lazarus is dead, and that this is all part of the plan. Jesus already knows that Lazarus is going to be alive at the end of the story. He knows that death cannot triumph over life, but he does not skip to the ending. There is an important moment before the triumph. So when Jesus came, he found that he had already been in the tomb 4 days. Now Bethany was near Jerusalem, about 2 miles away, and many of the Jews had joined the women around Mary and Martha to comfort them concerning their brother. Then Martha, as soon as she heard that Jesus was coming, went and met him, but Mary was sitting in the house. Martha first heard that Jesus was coming. She was the one who was always prepared. She was the one that made sure things were taken care of for others. She is the one that Jesus told not to worry about the little things, but to focus on the major things. Martha is the first to go and meet Jesus. Now Martha said to Jesus,
Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. But even now I know that whatever you ask of God, God will give you.
Your brother will rise again.
When Martha hears this, perhaps she is recalling the earlier lesson Jesus taught her. She has been listening to the teachings and focusing on Jesus' message of what is good, what good things are, and focusing on what she should focus. She wants Jesus to know she has heard his teaching, and she says,
I know that he will rise again in the resurrection at the last day.
I am the resurrection and the life. He who believes in me, though he may die, he shall live. And whoever lives and believes in me shall never die. Do you believe this?
This is an important moment because he is trying to help Martha find the link between listening and hearing the message to believing that the message and understanding the power of what lies within that message. And it speaks to us all well. We may believe that Jesus is indeed the resurrection and the life, but yet we believe in the power and the comfort that provides. He explains that believing in him is the key to life. Those that believe in him have life and may have access to comfort and strength at any time. The gift awaits to heal us and guide us, but sometimes it is too much to comprehend. In the midst of difficult times, we cannot accept that we have those blessings, and so we respond to Jesus with our heads instead of our hearts, like Martha when she replies,
Yes, Lord, I believe that you are the Christ, the Son of God, who is to come into the world.
And so we too go away believing, but still sad. We have faith in the belief, but not in promises that are extensions of that belief. Martha leaves, Jesus knowing and believing, but still hurting. Verse 28 continues, and when she had said these things, she went away and secretly called Mary, her sister, saying,
The teacher has come and is calling for you.
As soon as she heard that, she rose quickly and came to him. Now Jesus had not yet come into the town, but was in the place where Martha had met him. Then the Jews who were in her house and comforting her, when they saw that Mary rose up quickly and went out, followed her, saying, She is going to the tomb to weep there. Mary is the sister who chose to do good. Mary is the one that embodied the teachings, that spent time to anoint Jesus' feet. Mary is the sister who was properly following the spirit of Jesus' message. Yet she, too, is hurting. If Martha's belief is an intellectual belief, then Mary's is a very emotional belief. She knows that Jesus could have healed Lazarus. She has belief in the power. She is hurting and grieving outwardly. Then when Mary came to where Jesus was and saw him, she fell down at his feet, saying to him,
Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died.
Where have you laid him?
Lord, come and see.
Remember, Jesus knew from the beginning that this would not end in death. Jesus knows right now that Lazarus will be alive once more. He knows that the family will be reunited. He knows that this will be a powerful lesson for those who have followed him. But once again, he does not skip to the happy ending. Jesus lives in the moment. He feels the hurt of the two women he loves and cares for deeply. He understands their hurt and their pain, even knowing that it is temporary, even knowing the greatness and happiness that awaits those he loves. He still takes time to empathize with their real hurt and pain in the moment of sorrow. And the Bible tells us that Jesus wept. Currently, we are in the middle of an unprecedented wave of sickness for our times. The pandemic has separated us from our former way of life. It has claimed the lives of hundreds of thousands of people in our country and millions of people worldwide. As we try to keep moving forward, we are not immune from both the attitudes of Mary and Martha. I have found myself at times feeling very strongly in the intellectual soundness of my faith, but still not comforted in the moment. I have also found myself grieving for family members who have passed away and confused why such things are happening. I know that things will be okay eventually, but right now I am sad and I'm struggling. Jesus knows that he is the answer, but he also mourns with us as we hurt. This sometimes overlooked verse gives me much solace. Then Jesus, again groaning in himself, came to the tomb. It was a cave, and the stone lay against it.
Take away the stone.
Lord, by this time there is a stench, for he has been dead 4 days.
Did I not say to you that if you would believe, you would see the glory of God?
Then they took away the stone from the place where the dead man was lying, and Jesus lifted up his eyes and said,
Father, I thank you that you have heard me, and I know that you always hear me. But because of the people who are standing by, I said this, that they may believe that you sent me.
Now when he had said these things, he cried with a loud voice,
Lazarus, come forth.
And he who had died came out, bound hand and foot with grave clothes, and his face was wrapped with a cloth. And Jesus said to them,
Loose him and let him go.
The ending is powerful and joyful, and it awaits us all. Today, as we celebrate this good news, I encourage you to embrace the lessons from Mary and Martha. Don't get so overwhelmed by the emergencies and small fires that you have to run to put out on a daily basis, that you overlook the good of the message given to us all. Remember that eternal life is not just an intellectual belief, but a reality and a gift from God. And perhaps, most importantly, remember that even if you are occasionally overcome with grief and pain, God understands that as well and grieves along with you.
The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Christ.
I invite us to sit for a few moments of silence to allow the message of this good news to sit within our souls.